we are now ready to start and study another comparatively rare, though fashionable line, the Veresov variation. So let's see. Just a second. Here we go. You will see two systems against the Veresov. So first of all, let's describe what it is all about. White plays knight c3. This move is kind of anti-positional. He is threatening to occupy the center with e4. If I am a Philidor player, should I play d6? If I am a Pirch player, should I play g6? The answer is no. We should use our chance to play the best move strategically, which is, of course, d5, stopping the move e4. And now, on one hand, the knight on c3 is misplaced, because it is blocking, naturally blocking white's c pawn. He would like to put it here now, but this is never going to happen. On the other hand, white is usually relying on very fast development and possibly castling short. So here there are two main moves for white. One move is bishop f4, which is a very old continuation, but it was popularized the last, let's say, 10 years by a friend of mine, an ingenious grandmaster, Bahadur Jobava. So that's why, because he had some amazing games with it, it is called the Jobava variation. However, since then, many defenses have been found. Now, bishop f4, and the other way to play, which used to be popular, or let's say a possibility in the past, this move with bishop g5. Nowadays, computers are actually laughing at this move, bishop g5. It is difficult for white to even equalize. So let's see, bishop f4. First of all, black needs to know what he is doing. What is white's idea? Let's suppose I play a move like this one. First, we need to know what is going on. Usually, white, once he will play a move like this, sometimes he can even go immediately queen d2, intending possibly to castle long and play f3, e4. We cannot just start playing whatever comes in our mind, because white may play here, castle long, e4, or maybe even e3 and g4, h4, such kind of attack. And his plan is to get us out of book and get a good position. As always, white has in mind one possible trap, for example, after e6, which is playable, but it's not going to be our move because it has a lot of theory. e6 and e3, which would have been a bad move for black. Please, who remembers which is a very bad move for black in this position? Very good. It's c5. c5 is, of course, the correct idea strategically. We need to play c5, but not in this particular position, because white goes knight b5, forcing knight a6, and white is immediately better. So in this line, after bishop f4, I very much like one very, very rare move, which makes a lot of sense. And this is going to be the first out of the two choices. This line has practically zero theory, no more than zero theory, but it has some nice ideas for black, and it has been played in the past a few times. The move is this peculiar bishop d7 move. The idea of this move is to play e6 and c5. How about developing the bishop here? Well, the bishop here is active, but white will soon start using this bishop to gain initiative, to gain several tempi against it. That's why playing bishop f5 is impractical here. So one very interesting and rare move is this bishop d7. Let's see. For example, e3. e3 is, in fact, the only good move for white here. Let's try to play queen d7. First of all, I analyze this gambit. The first move that one should see is this gambit, but it is really not good. We take it. And now, of course, white can play all sorts of moves, but in all cases, he is worse. For example, I examine the typical move f3, and now we make use, I always like that, making use of our moves. We make use of this bishop d7 move to play bishop c6 with an advantage for black. For example, after here, e6, and there is not enough compensation. If necessary, we will play here, and if necessary, of course, at any moment, we won't hesitate to give the pawn back and get some sort of advantage. So e4 is not a good move. I've also examined the move queen d2, intending to castle long. We play e6. One may say, but now our bishop is blocked on d7. On one hand, our bishop is blocked on d7. On the other hand, this is not a typical position because white also has a very misplaced knight on c3. So here, playing with c5 and a6 and b5 makes a lot of sense. Besides, remember that if we would put this bishop here, white would gain tempi against this bishop by means of f3 and g4, so it's not easy to put it here. So after queen d2, we play e6, and for example, if he castles long, we play b5. Black is immediately better. This very early attack is very common in the Vareshov opening. For example, here, black is much better. We can play a6 intending b4, or even b4 immediately. And here, knight a6, black is already better. Next move can be c6 or c5. This is a different story now. Now white has his king on a1. Yes, he cannot just play a4, for example. So generally speaking, in this extremely rare move, bishop d7, which I strongly suggest that you play because it gives us good play, white should play e3. If here, e6, not b5 just yet, e6 to open up our pieces, organize our position. And now, what if he plays this? What if he plays that? We have several ideas. For example, e3, our move is c5. With the move bishop d7, we are protecting ourselves from knight b5. What is happening after knight b5? In most cases, we take this knight and play knight c6. And we are not at all afraid because our opponent, we're not at all afraid of our opponent's pair of bishops. Why? Because we have a very healthy and good position, and our remaining bishop is very powerful. So normally after this knight b5, one would take on b5, this is our idea, and then develop knight bd7 with good play. However, in this particular position, this move knight a6 with a queen on d2 is very good for black. This is an exception. Why? Usually the queen has to be here, and here white goes c3, a4. Here we are threatening such ideas. There is no queen on d1 to prevent that and to capture the bishop. And additionally, after, for example, this, which is a typical move, and c4, another problem for the white queen on d2, and this is why white is much worse, is that after here, for example, the queen on a1 is hanging. You see, the queen was much better off here. And another reason is that here, white could have played b3 ideas with b3, which do not work in this particular position. So after bishop d7, e6 and possibly c5 are our next moves. Queen d2 seems to be bad, doesn't even equalize for white. This is the most natural move, e3. And we play e6. Our next move is going to be c5. For example, knight f3. I play this logical move. Of course, we cannot cover everything. There are possible ideas for white. Chess is endless. Somebody can play here, for example. It won't change much. We will play c5. This idea may make sense. g4, they play like this sometimes. Most likely we will put the bishop here. In these cases, we put the bishop here, and we want to go knight e4, c5 with nice counterplay. So this bishop d7 move, clever idea, does not refute the system. The system is still playable, of course, for white. But it's a clever way to get out of book and get interesting positions. So here we go, e3, e6. Knight f3 is the most logical move, and we play c5. What is our plan after that? Our plan is usually to play a6 and b5, and another very common idea which the computer likes very much is to play here and bishop d6. Remember, this is not a regular London position with a knight here. This is a very, very different story. The knight is really misplaced on c3 on several occasions. So here, the move knight b5 is the best. a3 is another possible move. And we play a6. We want to play also this move. Queen b6 also makes sense. And after rook b1, bishop d6 with very good play for black. For example, he takes it, we take it, and he goes here. We make castle, castle, a6, possibly followed by c4 and b5. Yes, white still has a game. He can take here, for example. He can play this move. Let's say we take it, and this is an equal position. Such equal positions, we can get a lot. So the most natural move after c5, since we want to play queen b6 or a6 and b5, is this move, knight b5. This move, now it's better because if we play knight a6, white's queen is correctly placed on a1, on d1. So we must take it and play knight bd7. This is a very healthy, equal position. Of course, what to play here, please? Who will help us? There is a threat for black here. Winning the bishop. So let's suppose he plays c3. Black can play several moves in this position. For example, a6, bishop d3, and bishop e7. Another playable move is again this plan with queen b6, temporarily threatening this pawn, and after here to play bishop d6. The position is equal and very interesting. Black is doing very well. So a6, for example, bishop e7. And now I tried only this kind of London attacks. Why? Because if white plays quiet moves like this one, apart from this plan, we can just castle and the position is equal and good. We play b5, for example, followed by c4, b4. We have nice play on the queen side. We are not scared, once again, we are not scared of white's pair of bishops. Why? Because of this principle that our remaining bishop is very powerful, this one. In such a position, white's pair of bishop is very strong because this one is not so good. In such a position, white's pair of bishop is not strong. In this position, again, white's pair of bishop is not strong. The bishop is standing very well here, and at any moment we can go to g6. So this will give us, this rare line will give us good play. Let's check how this game was played. e6, knight f3, c5, a3. Knight b5 would have been the best move. Black played a6. This is entirely playable. And bishop e2. If here, once again, I like this idea with queen b6 or even bishop c6. Another very possible, I cannot really say very common because this line is rare, very interesting idea for black is to play the bishop on c6 and knight bd7. White cannot really count in his usual attack against our king because we never took here. At any moment we may play c4, driving this bishop away from this diagonal, forcing it to go to e2. For example, a move like h3, c4, and b5 with very good play for black. Can black play here bishop e7? Yes, absolutely. We can play bishop e7 with very good play. On one hand, yes, we would rather have this bishop here. Of course, if we had this position, black is probably much better. But we cannot get that so easily. On one hand, this bishop is a bit blocked. On the other hand, we keep the tension in the center with this pawn on c5. We will not just take here. We must have a reason to take this pawn, because he will take with the e pawn. We keep the tension, and at some moment we may play, for example, b5 and then c4, a5 with nice play. So let's check how this game by a very good young player, Greek player, was played. a6. Let's check the game until the end. Bishop e2. White hesitated to put the bishop on d3 because this c4, c5, c4 move is coming all the time. And black knew the idea. He put the bishop on c6. And the knight on the bishop d6 and the knight on d7. Look at this, please. If he goes here, now a very clever idea for black is even this move. I really like this move. We keep our knight on b8. We want to just take on e5. And if he takes, look, now once again the pair of bishops is absolutely irrelevant. The bishop on e2 is even bad. It is not attacking anything, neither defending anything. We are left with a very strong bishop on f8, and black is simply better here. We are threatening to take on d4 and queen b6, for example. So another idea to remember after bishop c6 is that if he goes knight e5, we may even play knight f to d7. For example, he castles. The simplest way is to just take here and play this move and develop the pieces bishop here. White doesn't seem to have any logical plan. We will soon take over. We will castle and start playing b5, such moves. Very good. This is how to punish this knight, which is standing on c3. So let's check again from the start. Bishop here, bishop d7. Intending e6, c5, and here it is. e6, c5. The best move is knight b5 for white. We take it and knight bd7. Let's repeat it. And here, with very good play for black. And a3 was played. Now let's play a6, intending bishop c6, knight bd7. Here it is, bishop c6, castles, knight bd7, or even bishop d6. Here, castles, and black has a good game. h6, okay, bishop takes e5. Now, maybe these were not the best moves, but anyway, black has very good play. Here, he wants to play e5 here, and d5. Black is doing very well. Later, he managed to win the game. So this very rare line is my first suggestion. Let us now check a couple of games here. So this is a bleach game between a player with the name Gelman and a rating of 2400 and Grandmaster Paravian with the black pieces with a rating of 2600, 2670. So knight here, we play d5. Bishop f4, rare but totally playable move, intending e6. So here, c5 immediately. No, our move will be e6 here. He played c5. And now this move is quite good, in fact, this move. And if we play e6, he will get to keep the pawn. So that's why we don't play here, c5. Anyway, they transposed after this. And now, the best move should be this, when we take the knight. If he plays here, how to continue, please? Who remembers? If he plays this, which is already a novelty, either knight c6, but then he will play knight b5 now. So let's play a6, castles, bishop c6 with very good play. Next move can be this one, or just knight bd7. And if he plays here, we may consider this move, knight f to d7, with very good play. So let's see now what happened. After e6, knight f3, e6, white played a move, this one, which is very possible that it will be played. But after this, Black is immediately slightly better with knight c6. I repeat, this position, the evaluation would have been totally different if this knight was here and white had his pawn on c3. Then we wouldn't bother to play such things. Everything would have been totally different. Imagine after this and c3, white's center is very stable. Here, this is constantly hanging. Here in c3, white's center is very stable. And additionally, if he plays here with the knight on d2 and the pawn on c3, the bishop will remain in the diagonal. Theoretically, if we were like this, and let's say here, bishop d3, this is a good version of the London. Now this doesn't work. There is no pawn on c2. White will play here, and he's clearly better. Very good. So we must not confuse these two positions with each other. So after knight e5, knight c6, black is immediately better. Queen d2 was played. And here, black took on d4, and he played bishop b4. This move is good because white played queen d2. f3 because we were threatening knight d4, and castles. Bishop here. Our plan is to play this and increase the pressure. And now we won't study this game anymore. Some tactics started, and black won in the end. Maybe he didn't play the best moves. We care about the very first moves only. Here is another game. There are very few games in the database. For some reason, the two players by a different move order. Here, e6, queen d2. For some reason, the two players agreed at a draw after bishop b4, but black is better already. Our plan is knight e4. For example, here I don't understand. What is this? Knight e4 is almost winning for black. Here, I believe the best white can do is to sacrifice his queen for two minor pieces. But then black is winning in terms of material. By the way, a good move for black here, in my view, although it doesn't really matter, would have been bishop b5 to also exchange the bishop on f1. Okay, so in other words, bishop d7, knight f3, e6, and bishop b4 is one of our ideas, especially if he plays here. If he plays this, I don't really believe in bishop b4. By the way, yes, c5 is the move here. By the way, if we play here, threatening knight e4, how should white continue? What do you think? Now we are threatening knight e4. Let's see. It is important to understand what is happening in this very unusual position. Very good. So a very interesting move is this one, to just defend against this threat knight e4 and then develop the pieces and play. Our bishop on b4 may even be a bit misplaced now. So after e3, our move is c5, and he has to play knight b5, and we will take it. So here, black is already slightly better, but the two players agreed on a draw. Generally, there are very few games in this line in the database. Here is another one. White has a rating of 2200, and black has a rating of 2150. So here we go. d4, d5. Sometimes you may find this move order instead of knight f6. Here, knight f6, bishop f4, and bishop d7, and e3, and e6. And knight b5 immediately, without even playing c5. We can just take it and play c6. Another totally playable move is, of course, this one, knight b7. c6, he played here, and bishop d6. Black simply has a good position, a good version. Now, how about this typical London strategy? First of all, we are not even forced to take it here. But even if we take it, we are doing well. For example, after such a move, we are doing well because this strategy for white works well when we have a bad bishop on c8. This is when the strategy works. Now, instead of a bad bishop on c8, we have a very healthy knight on b8. So this strategy doesn't really, London strategy doesn't really work for white. Here, knight bd7, this position is equal. If we put an extra knight on d2 and an extra bishop on c8, immediately white is better. So here, and black played e5. This is about equal. Here, for example, after taking, we take with the knight and nothing much is happening. c3, this is some analysis by myself now, some thinking by myself. And here, I believe, let's think about it for a while, please. Let's not just reproduce opening moves. Besides, there is no theory here. So how to continue here with black? Let's see. Once again, black is not worse at all because his remaining bishop is very good. Who will suggest a move for black? Queen d6, but then he has f4. We will lose a piece, yes? So queen b6 makes sense. Generally, I prefer to keep my queen somewhere in the center, in the center of events. For example, here, and maybe we can even castle long. If he plays here, we may even consider g5 and castling long. This also makes sense. g5 here and now take it. Maybe this move, but maybe he can play f4 now. As always, calculation is required. Here, maybe we can take here, but maybe he considered taking with the f pawn now. I don't know what is happening here. A lot and serious calculation is required. Once again, very good. It seems, though, that black doesn't have any problem. White played here. He's now threatening to take on d7, of course. Black gave this check, and let's see what happened. h6 and g6. Everything is under control. And who will win this position? Actually, black is slightly better here because he has a bit more space. Who will win this position? The player who will play better chess. Castles and castles. But black seems to have a very small advantage. But if you give the white pieces to Carlsen, he will win with the white pieces in the end. Okay, they played this game and he won. So this is my pet line, which you can use against this line. Now let's check something more theoretical. So just a second. Here we go. So here it is. Another line against this system. I want a line where we dictate the play. We decide how the game will be continued very early as possible. That's why I chose the move bishop d7, and because it is good and rare. But here is the most theoretical move. We play c5 immediately. For the moment, there is no knight b5, of course, because of queen a5 check, and then he needs to retreat back. So he will play e3. This is the first move that we will examine. And now we take here, he takes it. You will see that this intermediate move, hoping for knight a6 and then e4 with a big advantage for white, this intermediate move doesn't work. You will see the analysis after queen a5 check, black is better. So look at this, please. Takes and takes. This is a very common position. White is threatening knight b5. If, for example, we happily play here, this is 2 question marks. He goes here, and we have already lost. For example, if check, he goes c3. We have already lost the game. We need to play king d7 here. So after this c d4 and e d4, there is theory. They play a6 usually. with lots of theory. However, I really like this move, bishop g4. Black is very successful with this move, bishop g4. He goes f3. If he plays here, we go knight c6, just like that. And now we are in time after knight b5 to play rook c8. If he plays this, just play rook c8. And we are better. So let's see what is happening. If queen d2, knight c6, and f3. Usually after f3, surprisingly, we put the bishop here, not to h5 or to f5, because he will gain a lot of tempi against our bishop. We will play here. If knight b5, I saw rook c8. Here, rook c8. Please be careful not to blunder a checkmate here. e6, yes, not to feel happy after that. So e6, and already black is better. White has lost too much time. For example, after c3, queen b6, black is actually winning. White cannot play here because without development, he cannot enter complications. So let's go back once again. A very fast and aggressive line, counter-attacking line. c5, e3, we take it, and bishop here, and when I see f3, I go back to d7. If queen d2, I just develop the pieces, and rook c8 and all these moves. When I see f3, bishop d7. So, for example, here, is this a playable move? Absolutely. This is a playable move. We will take it. White will capture back somehow, and we have a nice playable position. For example, knight takes, knight c6 with a good game. Let's suppose he takes with the queen. Please be very careful. I want to play the most natural move in the world, knight c6. Is knight c6 a good move? Please, who will tell us? So this is a very bad move, of course, in this particular position, because he will go here, and after this, he will go here. So we first need to play a6. And now, after castling knight c6, we have a very good version of this position, very nice attack with b5 and everything. So yes, white does have some play too. He will go here, we will go rook c8, but we have a very healthy and good position. Objectively, black is better. So this is our second line. Instead of bishop d7, we play here, take it, and bishop g4, very popular. f3 is the main move, and we go here. We are very careful about his knight b5 moves all the time. So, for example, queen e2. Again, I very carefully examine the move knight c6. I see that after knight c6, he has knight b5. I just play a6. If here, I just lost. Rook c8 and go practice. So, a6 is the move. Careful when you play knight c6. The good thing is that with this g4, white has lost contact of the h5 square. And whenever he goes here, we can go knight h5. So e6, this is not equal. Black is clearly playing for the advantage. For example, after this, we go knight h5. And after this, knight c6, black is doing great. The d5 pawn is hanging, but the d4 pawn is also hanging. So here, black is better. White was forced to play many strange moves, like this knight c3 and f3 and bishop and g4. So here we go, f3, bishop here. First, we try this, a6 is necessary, with good play for black. Then we try knight b5 immediately. We just take it, and should I go to d7? Not really, I prefer this move here. We are threatening, of course, queen a5 check. For example, c3, e6 with very good play for black. Once again, the pair of bishops is totally irrelevant because white has weaknesses with f3, and Who remembers the other way, the other reason why the pair of bishops here is not important? Because, very good, because the remaining bishop by black is very powerful. We feel it. It can go here or here, and the pair of bishops is now irrelevant. If I put this bishop here, now white is better due to the pair of bishops. Can he take here and play for the c5 square? No, not really. Not really. This strategy does not really apply. Black will maybe play c5 himself very early, maybe here and c5. Yes, white doesn't have the necessary time to do that, to use this c5 square. It's very close to black's territory, this square, and it's very easy to control it well and maybe push c5. So again, here, f3, bishop d7. This is our line. We get it very forced. For example, g4, we play e6. Let's suppose he plays here. I am calculating now to see if I can play knight c6. If I am not sure, I just play a6. For example, he castles long, knight c6. However, now white is going to pay the price. We have strong counterattack with b5, with rook c8, with bishop b4, and practically black is maybe already better. For example, here, either b5 immediately or rook c8 first, and it seems that we are doing great. And our bishop on d7 stands perfectly. We have very clear plans here. By the way, okay, here maybe we have this because this knight has been weakened, but look, you may even find after this plan, of course, here, and our knight can safely go to e7. This is another possible idea. Okay, the positions are interesting, unclear, and comparatively unknown. Let's see how this game was played. Here, e6, g4, queen b6. I would have played a6 here, but queen b6 was played, castles, and knight c6. We don't just play knight c6, we play knight c6 after serious calculation. Indeed, this doesn't seem to work. We play here, and if he gives this check, we take it, and most likely we take here, and then take this bishop. So let's see, queen b6, castles, knight c6, knight g2. Most likely, the move should be rook c8. Yes. a3, because if white moves this knight, then we will play here with good attacking chances. So he played a3, but this is additional weaknesses. Queen a5 and b5. Okay, black has good counterplay. In the end, he managed to win the game. It's not so simple, of course, but we are standing quite well. With the black pieces is the famous young German grandmaster Vincent Keimer. Let us check another game here. This opening, the Veresov opening, is typically an opening which is not at all dangerous if you know what to do against it. You may enjoy a very good position with nice counter-attacking chances, but we are studying it because if you don't know how to play against it, it can become very dangerous and white can win easily. So then you will go the typical procedure. You ignore this annoying little opening, you lose the game, and later, this is what I used to do even when I was an international master. Or I would lose the game, or maybe win the game, but only thanks to big luck. And then I would go to check the theory of the game, the theory of my game. But then it was too late. Let's check now another game. This is the game, a bleach game between Caruana and Wesley So. So let's check it. d5 and c5, e3. This is another story. We will come to that. So e3 for the moment. We take it. Bishop g4 and bishop d7. Very good. our next move is probably going to be a6. You can just rely on that I will play a6 on the next move, or e6 and then a6. For example, g4, a6, g5, knight h5. Black cannot take on, white cannot take on d5, of course, because everything is hanging. Check, and he will lose either this piece or this piece. Okay. So a6, or let's say bishop d3. This is another playable move, intending to castle short, but again, black has good play. Knight c6. Black has good play because the knight is badly placed on c3 and the pawn is badly placed on f3. p5, we have good counterplay. One may say, but you taught us that there is no minority attack with our bishop behind the pawn chain. I repeat, this principle stands for natural positions, with the knight here, the other knight to f3, pawn to c3, this kind of natural position. Yes, if the white pieces are upside down, then the minority attack is still good. Very good. Let's see how they played this game. Caruana with Wesley so queen d2, e6, and g4. We expect to see the move a6 or the move queen b6. He played queen b6 and a6 now. I believe this move is also played. a6, let's check how they played until the end. Knight g2. After h4, even this move makes sense. This unusual move to exchange the bishop on f1. We are learning another useful idea. So knight g2, he played knight c6. The position is nice, unclear, with chances for both sides. Knight a5, yes, is elegant. And bishop b5, because he knows the typical ideas. And knight goes here. Okay. And king d8, okay, because he's threatening to take on d5. It's getting very complicated. And we will stop this game here. Let us check, please, another game. There are some very, very high-level games here. For example, this one. Here, this was won by white. So let's check. Both two good grandmasters are playing here. So knight b5 immediately. I really don't like white's position here at all. Queen d2 and queen b6. He takes it, and b takes c6. Of course, we can also take with the queen here, and black is simply slightly better. Yes, if white, for example, tries to play something like this for short castling, then we have a very good version. We will play here, castle short. Can white follow this strategy with c3, knight c1, knight d3? He can, but his tempi do not appear to be very good. And also, bishop takes d6. Here is one question. Just a second. Let's clarify this. Castles. Why not bishop d6 is the question. No, this is a mistake. Our bishop is much better than white's. Here we are helping him to put a knight on d3 quite easily. For example, here, castles and knight d3 here, and let's say c3. What if d4, knight f6, bishop f4? This is the London system. Yes, this we will cover later. So here, f3 and bishop d7, knight b5 takes it. And I like this move, queen b6. This is not necessary, but playable. No. Here, let's clarify this, please. Castles, bishop e7. Our bishop, although the pieces should not be examined separately, in this position, our bishop is better than white's. White is controlling a useless diagonal. Our bishop is here, ready to play b5, a5, and b4. For this reason, we must keep the bishop. Yes, we must not play bishop d6. Okay, we must also keep pieces to play for a win even more. So e6 here, bishop e7, yes, h4. But look at this h4 move. This is maybe good enough for bleach or whatever, but after h4, now white cannot castle short, and it's not easy to even castle long with all these weaknesses. So c5, I like to play with the black pieces in such a position where our opponent cannot castle either side. h6, yes, takes, and black has a very good game. Knight c5, very nice counterplay. Okay, of course, the play can possibly be improved even further. Yes, there are only human playing here. Please give me 1 minute, I'll be back. So here we go. We check another game. Save, yes. Okay. Let's check another game by white. This is how we learn the lines, by examining several games. So this is a different move order. It's not, we are not going to play like this. Knight c3, c5 is our second choice. We take it, bishop here, and bishop d7. You may say that this is even more ambitious for black, but equally good. I wanted my bishop on d7 today. So here, or maybe a6. Out of book, what with good play. Knight c6, yes. And knight a5. Such ideas are possible, knight a5, because white's pieces are misplaced. Bishop e5 and knight c4. If he goes b3, now, okay, this pawn is probably already hanging, but anyway, this b3 is causing weaknesses along the file. We may even come back to d6. Of course, we will take on a3, but if we suppose that we couldn't win this pawn. And black has good counterplay again. So here, he takes on e5, pawn takes, knight e8, nice unclear play with chances for both sides. And in the end, black managed to win. Black managed to win not because he played this particular line of the Veresov, but because he played better later. This line, just like every other line, does not win, does not lose. Let's check one or two more games. For example, this game by the superstars between Eric Gaisi and Keimer, Vincent Keimer. This is a rapid game. So c5, e3, takes, bishop here, bishop e2. How about such a move? Obviously, such a move is also playable. Let me look around. Can I play knight c6 or do I need a6? If I can play knight c6, I won't play a6, of course. So can we play knight c6? We calculate. This is more useful than memorizing. Yes, knight c6 can be played. I calculate this, rook c8, and this, threatening this check, but e6, I stabilized everything by playing natural and good moves, rook c8 and e6, and now it is white's time to pay, of course, because he played two very unnatural moves, queen e2 in front of his bishop and knight b5. So knight f3 is simply a bad version of these positions. Knight c6, and there is nothing much to see here. We have a great game and we continue fighting. Let's see, bishop e2. If you would ask me, with the white pieces, I would definitely choose this quiet move, bishop e2. He takes it and queen takes. Please be careful. I see several threats. Keimer is very clever and he didn't play knight c6. He played a6. Once again, if we play here, before I execute this move, I must calculate knight b5. And here, knight d6. So first a6 here. And Erigaisi played g4. Young players, you know very well, that like to play, to experiment with such active moves, which are not objectively very good. But this is just a rapid game, and for rapid it is ideal. h6, castles, e6, black has good counterplay. h4, knight c6 finally. Our next move can be this one, or maybe this, developing with tempo. Let's see. Queen f3, protecting this rook on h1 in order to play g5. And g6, here is something that we need to know. We need to memorize. For example, after this, he has this move, and this move is very annoying. Look, takes, and after this, of course, he will play g6 here to break our pawn structure. So look how he's dealing with the threat of g5 by playing g6. Is this correct? Yes, 100%. Here, and now bishop e7. According to the computer, h5 was even better. So bishop e7 with nice unclear play. Of course, make no mistake, white also has his chances, of course. Yes, so queen here, b5, and king b1, and rook c8. Black is slightly better objectively, but practically it is unclear. Finally, this h5 move, and knight e4, and now black's advantage becomes even more clear. After knight d6, what do you think white should play here, please? We are now long way out of book, of course. What do you think? Very good. Of course, he must take here, because if he doesn't do that, the knight from d6 has several good places to go. Bishop takes, and black can now castle short, because the attack, white's attack is blocked, and black is strategically better. So they continue for some moves, and he castles short, and keeps the pressure. Later, he won the game. You will study, of course, the whole game. Let's check another game. Timofeyev, Keimer. Vincent Keimer has several games in this line. By the way, when you see a player in some particular line, a good player having several games, it means that he's probably an expert in the line, or he became an expert with too much experience, and a good hint is usually to follow his games. So c5, e3, we take it. We play bishop g4 and bishop d7, queen d2. Again, I study. Can I play knight c6? I calculate. Knight c6, knight b5, rook c8, queen e2, threatening knight d6 check, e6. So knight c6 is playing if I wanted to. Here, queen b6. The idea of queen b6 is possibly to force long castling. And knight c6 with nice unclear play. Rook c8, yes. Queen a5, okay. And queen b6 with nice unclear play. And here is a game which I like very much. This is the game which I like very much. So with the white pieces, of course, there is difference. With the white pieces, a white has a play rating of 2090, and with the black pieces, 2670 is famous Grandmaster David Navarra. So bishop g4, let's see how Navarra plays. In this quiet position, he takes on e2, really nice game. Queen takes, please be careful. I don't play knight c6. I calculate knight b5 before I execute the move knight c6. You will lose in two moves. Indeed, Navarra plays a6. This is again two question marks. He has here and here. So a6 first, knight c6, and black has a good version of the Carlsbad structure. White castle long because he wants a tough game. He can also castle short. Then we will play e6. And after this, I strongly suggest that here black does not play bishop d6, but bishop e7. This is a better move. Our bishop is better. We want to play b5, b4, minority attacks. His bishop is controlling some empty diagonal, and there is not even an attack against our king. Okay. So he castled long, e6. Don't forget to develop the pieces. Yes, I see quite often such moves, attacks with the pawn on e7, and we are very far away from castling. e6 is necessary. 95. Who will help us? How to continue here, please? Very good. The best move is rook c8. White took here. This decision is usually questionable. He has a strong knight on e5. He should not just exchange it. Rook takes, and white played this bad move, g4. There is no doubt how Grandmaster Navarra and everybody else in his position should play. How should black play here, please? What do you think? Beyond any doubt, black must take on c3, of course, and this is what he did. B takes c3, and now I see three possible options. Queen a5, bishop a3 check, and knight e4. Which one is better? This is a good calculation exercise. Should we play bishop b4 here? We give him the chance to escape. After this, we do have a good position, but we give him the chance to escape, to play here, for example. Or maybe even knight a4, I don't know, and sacrifice a pawn. So we must not lose the chance to sacrifice three possible moves: knight e4, bishop a3 check, and queen a5. Which one is better? Only calculation will decide that. Only calculation. Queen a5 should be correct because Navarra calculates perfectly. f3 controlling the knight, but he took here. Let's see. Here. Check first, and now he takes it, and now he takes another pawn. Black has good compensation. I like this queen f4 move. The queen can stay there for a couple of moves until black castles short and stabilizes. This is a very instructive move, queen here. And d5, and he castles. Navarra knows very well that his queen is not going to stay on f4 for too long, but he is using this time to play b5, to castle, to play useful moves, and only then he continues. And rook c8, knight d7. This knight in such positions is no worse than a rook. And knight c5. There are so many weak squares left and right. The only problem is that we have only one knight. Check here, yes. Queen here. Now it's a matter of calculation. And he collected another pawn. An experienced grandmaster doesn't lose the chance to collect one pawn. And now he has enough extra material to win. Save. Okay, these are well-played games by Black. Let's check another game. White has a rating of 2480, close to 2500. And with the black pieces is famous grandmaster Radek Wojtaszek from Poland with a rating of 2670 approximately. So bishop g4 and bishop d7. If you ask me which line is better theoretically, this c5 and take and bishop g4, which is very well known, or this one? First of all, they are of different style. This one is a more quiet variation, intending e6 and c5. The theory has not developed at all yet in this line. Possibly it will develop a lot more in the future. And both lines are good. It depends on what you want to do. Sometimes you want to play an unknown position, and sometimes you want to play this bishop g4, bishop d7, which is more aggressive. We open up the c file and we try to attack, but aggressive means not only that I attack, but I will also receive an attack. Yes? So, in my view, they are objectively more or less equally good. It depends on our mood. This is a bit more risky. And bishop here, and he takes it, and knight c6. Once again, c3. If I put this here and the knight on f3, white is enjoying some nice little advantage, maybe even a big advantage, but not with a pawn on f3. Here, and bishop d6. Now you may wonder, okay, this time you are offering a bishop exchange. Yes, because this time white has played also this bad f3. In this time, white cannot get this knight d3 version. We want, let's say, maybe to deprive him of the pair of bishops. So the position is equal. He took here and queen d6. White does have some ideas of himself. He wants to play here, knight d3, but rook a b8. In this position, white would rather have had an extra knight instead of this bishop on d3. a5, and although white can put his knight on c5, according to the computer, black has very good game. You must study this game deeply, because the analysis of this game is very useful for the understanding of the minority attack. Okay, one final game that I have collected. Here there are countless games in the database. This is a very fast bleach game, but I liked it, by Nihal Sarin with the black pieces against Bortnik Alexander. So here, f3, and here, g4, straight attacking chess, e6, h4. We calculate knight c6. We need a few seconds. Knight c6, knight b5, rook c8. I'm protecting everything. Let's play. Can I play a6 here? Yes, I can. Can I play queen b6 here? Yes, I can, and I like it very much. I would like to provoke this move, because then he has nowhere to castle. So knight c6, however, and queen b6. White should probably play something like this now and sacrifice this pawn, which black probably cannot even take it. By playing rook b1, what is his problem? White's problem is that now his king is stuck in the center. Rook c8, a3. Let's see, bishop e7, h5, h6. Look at this situation. If he goes here, we go knight h5, of course. And if he goes here, threatening g5, we go h6. Queen here, Black doesn't want to castle short yet because he may come under attack. He plays some useful moves on the queen side. By the way, let's suppose that this pawn is here. How should black continue in this position? What do you think? Knight c4 black is slightly better, or is there something even better? So here, black can win a piece. He will play rook takes c3. If b takes c3, we take the rook on b1. If queen takes c3, we play bishop b4 and arrest the queen. Okay. So bishop d6 is very interesting, in fact, because now if we manage somehow to stop this, we may castle and attack. Yes, he lost his castling rights. Castle short. Now, if it was white to move, if it was, sorry, black to move, for example, I play this move. How should black continue here, please? What do you think? Of course, some calculation is required. Knight h7 is playable, a little bit passive. So we want to play this move, of course. e5, opening up the center. This is the thing, the move we want to play. Now, isolated pawns and stuff like that are absolutely irrelevant here. By the way, after this, I can even take here and knight e4 check. So this is the way to play e5 and queen takes e5 with very, very good play for black. Okay. Let's see how they played. g5, knight h7. Okay. And queen f6. Black is protecting his king and g6, of course. And now the white king is weak. This is a very instructive game. And this is a better endgame for black because this h6 pawn now is weak, for example. And because we seem to have good attack, but yes, Michal Sarin won a piece. So that would be all for this line. Now let's check another game. Let's check this game by Pragnanandar. So because white had enough of all these lines popping up against the Veresov, after e3, cd4, ed4, and bishop g4, as well as some other lines, because he had enough of these lines, he invented another move. The move is e4. Objectively, this is not a very good move, and black has several ways to play against it. But the possibilities are so many that we may get a bit confused. So the line that I chose, I like it very much because it has a forced character. We take with the knight. He takes it, and they take here. Now the theory goes either queen a5 check. This move is very common. And even this move, knight d7, is very common. The most common is queen a5 check. However, I chose this move, queen takes d1. This move gives to black easy and good play. Here, and knight c6. For example, bishop b5 was played. Here, you need to know just very few moves. What to do against each move by white. Here we play f6 and e5. Very powerful. And black is already better. e5 and bishop e6. Black is already better. f5 is coming. And rook d8. Black is much better already. So let's go back. Is this e4 move playable? Yes, although objectively not so good, it is playable. We take here and we play knight c6. Now you need to know here f6 and e5. Let's check another game in this line. Let's check this game. Just a second. Where is it? This game, a rapid game. White is a grandmaster, Samunenkov, Ihor, and black is again David Navarre. So let's see, c5. We take with the knight, and we take on d1. This is a simple and good move. Knight c6, if bishop b5, f6. So here, and not this move e5. This is the correct move, intending e6 after f3. This is the correct move. For example, here, e6 with very good play for black. So you just need to remember a few things, what to do after f3, what to do after bishop b5. It is very easy to remember that. You will see all these in the notes. Just bishop f5. e5 is not really very good. The computer doesn't like it at all. It considers that it is weakening the light squares. And white is now better, although in the end, black managed to win. So after f3, we play here and e6 next move with very good play. Let us check now another game. This is the game between Bleach game between Naroditsky and Fressinet. You may wonder why many of the games are either Bleach games or Rapid games, because high-level players do not really play these Veresov lines. These are comparatively rare lines, yes? And there is a reason for that, because they are not objectively very good for white, but they are very tricky, good enough for Bleach, for Rapid, to take the opponent by surprise. So c5, e4, again, we take it, and we take the queen. And we play knight c6. So far, we know two moves. If bishop b5, f6, and e5. If f3, bishop f5. So white played here. If this f6 and e5, and bishop e6, and if this bishop f5. So here, bishop d7. Laurent Fressinet knew the best move. This is the best move here, bishop d7. You may find this a little bit confusing, but no, it's you will get used to it. Besides, this line is anyway quite rare. So here, and black with all these tricks is already better. Black is better, although he lost the game in the end. Check and king e7, he lost the game. This is a little bit random play. What can we do? This is the Veresov. Very good. And finally, one very last game in this line. Of course, I repeat, you can find many of them in the database. So this appears to be like a standard game between two grandmasters, Grandmaster Harsha 2550 and Grandmaster Ghosh. This game was played in 2022, 2 years ago. So let's see. e4, this ever fashionable e4 move. We always take with a knight. And we take on d1. Takes it, knight c6. And bishop b5. So we remember what to do after bishop b5, please. Who remembers? Everybody, I guess. f6, very good. If you ask why, the usual answer, because some friend of mine told me, the computer. So here, e5, and here, bishop e6, black stands very well. Here, f5, and king f7, stepping away of all these knight d5 moves. And black was better. He took here, very clear performance, c4, and here. Just some tactics, and black managed to win a pawn. Yes, a lot of calculation. We know one thing about these endgames. we will need calculation. The more I see complications, the more I understand that I am on the right path. Very good. Here, black won this game easily. What is left, I will tell you. So, what is left is another non-dangerous opening. Our move order is d4, knight f6, knight c3, d5. The old version of the Vereso, bishop g5. Yes, this move used to be popular in the past. This is some kind of reversed Chigorin. Imagine d4, d5, and c4 if we play here and put the bishop back on c1. This is Chigorin. So Chigorin, white gets the black pieces with an extra tempo. However, this bishop g5 is not at all successful. Black has several good ways to play. For example, for many years, I know this move, c6, very good waiting move. For us, for now, taking on f6 is very easy to understand. Why? Because this resembles a bad version of which opening, please? This resembles a bad version of the Trombovsky. This is a bad Trombovsky, and Trombovsky, this is here. And white can play c4. For example, f5, or maybe even bishop d6. And here, we already know what to do. We will play here. We will play knight d7. Look, and this is an even worse version. White can and possibly should go for f4, for c4. Now we can take it and play, for example, queen e7, and we get a very good version of the Trombovsky with several tempi. By the way, let me show you something, please. By the way, let me show you something. Let's suppose that I castle. So something that I should add in the Trombovsky. And I play here, look at this, please. And he goes rook b1. This has to do with the Trombovsky, but let me mention it. So here, he wants to play b4. I don't want to play this move because when he goes d5, I want to play c5. And I cannot play both c5 and a5. I want to play the move queen e7. This is a very deep move. We are not so much worried about this, but we play queen e7 because it's a typical move, and we want to provoke a3. This is very important. We want to provoke a3. Why? Because when we continue with all these normal moves and he plays b4, now these pawns are immobilized. White cannot play this because he will lose his a3 pawn. And he cannot play this because he will lose his b4 pawn. What would white like ideally? He would like to have this pawn here and play b5. And sometimes this is correct. I even have a nice bleach game. Black can play b5 and a5 and collect material. So this queen here move, forcing him to put this pawn on a3 is very useful. For example, imagine if I play this and he goes b5 and now I play here. Now he will go b5. He will not play a3. He will play b5, and now I cannot win a pawn there. Okay, this small little detail. So we were saying that this opening is not good. I knew for several years that c6 is very good. For example, queen d2 and knight bd7. Our plan is always, if he castles long, to play a very fast b5. Black has a huge advantage here, huge advantage. So I tried several ideas for white. For example, here, none of them is working. Black stands perfectly here, h6 or any other move. For example, here, e5. Black is immediately better. So the first move after bishop g5, the first good move is c6. Let's try again. Our plan, next move is knight bd7. For example, here, knight b7. If he castles long, b5. Let's try something else. Here, knight b7. If he castles long, again b5, with an advantage for black. If white plays f3, black to play and get a big advantage. Who will find it, please? It is e5, natural and good. White's moves, both queen d3 and f3, are really unnatural. I was trying to get playable positions after c6. The best move for white is, let's say, e3, but after that we have several options. For example, we can play here, we can play knight bd7. Even this move makes a lot of sense. Here, annoying little move. Very good. So after c6, generally, after bishop g5, white doesn't usually play e3. He wants to go for long castling, but he cannot. So c6 is one simple and good move. I give another line. In the past, this was the main line, f3 immediately without moving the queen. Knight bd7, e4, takes, e5. This is the old main line. Black, if you can imagine, 20-something years ago, there were many games in this line, and it was considered good for white. Computers now are way too strong, and they consider black positions to be better. So here, queen a5 is the theoretical move, and I knew bishop takes f6, g takes f6, and black is slightly better. The computer, if you can believe, we have just lost a piece. The computer plays this also. Can you believe it? We lost a piece, take another one. Bishop a3, and black is better even here. So such openings, of course, this is also good enough. And they play e6, f takes e6. We are already threatening bishop a3. And this is something that white should avoid. Generally, white's position is really bad. So c6 is one move, and we are directly fighting for the advantage. But here is another one after bishop g5. Please do not mistake this position with the Trombowski with e3. So the move is h6, a selfish move. We are telling to white, let's see what you have in mind, please. We lose a clear tempo. Takes and e takes f6. On one hand, we played h6 and we are a clear tempo down. On the other hand, our position is safe. It does resemble Trombowski, but with a knight on c3. So this is also very good. After e4, we play here, and black is better immediately. For example, some analysis is here. It's not even worth analyzing. White cannot even castle. So he must play something like this, and then c6. And now we know how to play, for example, here, f5. And queen f3, I wonder, is it a good move or a bad move? What do you think? What do you think? Is it a good move or a bad move? This queen f3 is it's a bad move, of course. This is the Mamendyarov idea of the Trombowski, while we have already played f5. So g6, of course, black is better here. h5 and knight d7, very good, and knight f6. And the queen is clearly misplaced on f3. Now that he has castled long, we may consider such moves, of course, b5. We don't worry about the dark squares. When we play all these h5, f5, we are weakening the dark squares, but we are the only player who has a dark square bishop in this game. So black is already better. h6, takes, c6. So you will make your choice. For example, here, bishop d6, castles, g6. Let's say he goes here, otherwise he has no other moves. Knight d7 and knight f6. And we reached a good version of the Trombowski. Our tempi are quite good. On the next move, we can castle short, or maybe play with our king in the center on f8, for example. Such moves with an attack. And we are standing very well. Let's check a few games in this old type Veresov opening. This is the game between Broman and Pavel Elianov with the black pieces. This is an online game. So h6, simple and good. Takes here, and c6. Let's check. Knight d7, I would have chosen f5, but this is also possible. Queen f3, can you guess the move here? We are out of book, but something tells me that we can guess the move. Of course, the move is g6. Very good. We are threatening f5. And after this, what to play here, please? Of course, he played h5. You see, this is not a Trombowski. This is a Veresov. But the plans are very similar. And after h3, knight b6. And white cannot keep the tension. We are threatening to win a pawn. So he's forced to take here. And after rook takes, his strategy has failed. Bishop d6. And f5. Black is controlling all the squares. Rook h4. And black is better, bishop e6. Yes, now the rest is, let's say, the easier part. Queen c7. White managed to kick away this rook from h6, but it cost him too many tempi. So make no mistake, please. Black stands better in this position, and later he managed to win. Let's check another game now between Johnny Hector, a legendary player, and Gawain Jones from England, another super grandmaster. So h6 in this rapid game, and c6 again, and f5, more clear cut here, bishop d6, and bishop e6 is playable. The other playable move is, of course, this one, intending knight d7. For example, we already know that this move tends to be good here. We know also these plans. We know that black stands very well. So let's see what happened. Castles and b5. Knight f4. He took it, yes. We have already seen this motive, which has chances to be good. So knight b6, I wouldn't say, I'm not so sure if black is better here. It can also be equal, but black has absolutely no problem. And I have collected one final game by Grandmaster Paravian David with this h6 move, although c6 is also playable and good. c6 now. Knight e2 was played, another move, so what? Bishop d6. e4, but we hardly ever have a problem with this, because this is an improved version of the Caro-Kann, because black has the pair of bishops. So here, black stands really very well. Queen d6. If white goes here, we will probably play typical strategies like this, and knight d7, and, for example, such moves, h5, with very good play. Let's see how they played. Queen d6, okay, b6, they are out of book, but we can obviously see that black is doing great. So black later won the game. We learned all we need to know about the Veresov, the modern Veresov, in other words, the Jobava system. We learned that the Veresov can be dangerous if we don't know what to do. I suggested two systems against the Jobava Veresov, and you can pick up your favorite, and two systems against the old Veresov. And what is far more important, we started getting a very good feeling of these positions. And your knowledge will improve, of course, even further by studying the notes and by playing games. I hope you liked the lecture and learned many things. I will see you in half an hour for the last part of today's lectures. Bye for now.